والصلاة والسلام على سيد الأنبياء والمرسلين وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين أما بعد فأعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم قال لا يأتيكما طعام ترزقانه إلا نبأتكما بتأويله قبل أن يأتيكما إلى آخر آية. صدق الله مولانا العظيم. إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما. اللهم صل على سيدنا ومولانا محمد معدن الجود والكرم وآله وصحبه وبارك وسلم صلاة وسلام عليك يا سيدي يا رسول الله صلى الله تعالى عليه وسلم. Yesterday the talk ended when the two prisoners who were with Sūrah Yusuf alayhi salam, they came to Yusuf alayhi salam and they mentioned two random dreams just to test the knowledge of Yusuf alayhi salam, just to check what he has to say. Now before Yusuf alayhi salam, he gives interpretations of the dreams. He found an opportunity to bring them to Islam, and this is what Yusuf alayhi salam, he begins by saying. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. قال لا يأتيكما طعام ترزقانه إلا نبأتكما بتأويله قبل أن يأتيكما. Now one thing before I give you the translation, the prison was approximately 8 miles away from the king's palace. And therefore there were many prisoners, as we're going to learn later on, who were left there. No one would come to them to ask about them, and if there were any prisoners who were accused of plotting against the king would send food, poisoned food. He would place poisoned food and would give it to inmates who were accused of plotting against the king, and they would die eventually. So this is the reason why Sayyid Yusuf alayhi salam says, لا يأتيكما طعام, your food will not come to you both, ترزقانه, which you eat. إلا نبأتكما بتأويلي, except that I will inform you of the interpretation of the dream before the food comes to you. قبل يأتيكما. Now the Mufassirun, they have stated that Sayyidina Yusuf alayhi salam was bestowed the knowledge of what they were to eat. So Yusuf alayhi salam is saying here, before the food arrives to you, in one narration, before the food comes to you, I will inform you what food you're going to eat. Ilm al-Ghaib. So they asked, is it because you're fortune teller, you're nujumi, you're magician, you're kahin? What is the reason? How do you know what food you're going to eat? So he says, ذَلِكُمَا مِمَّا عَلَّمَنِي رَبِّي. This is a science in knowledge which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has taught me. Now when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala teaches a person direct knowledge, we call this ilm ladunni, ilm directly from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now he found an opportunity that they are close to me. Now again, another very important lesson we learn: before we go out to propagate deen, first make sure people trust you. You should show people your character. The Prophet ﷺ lived within Meccans for 40 years. And when he said, I'm a Prophet of Allah, the people who knew him closely, they didn't hesitate. And yes, you are the Prophet of Allah. 5 years. Sayyidina Yusuf alayhi salam stayed in a prison. And then he mentioned about Islam, about deen. إِنِّي تَرَكْتُ مِلَّةَ قَوْمٍ لَا يُؤْمِنُونَ بِاللَّهِ. O prisoners, now everyone came close. They wanted to know what's the interpretation. إِنِّي تَرَكْتُ مِلَّةَ قَوْمٍ. I disbelieve the nation لَا يُؤْمِنُونَ بِاللَّهِ, who don't believe in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. وَهُمْ بِالْآخِرَةِ هُمْ كَافِرُونَ, and they don't believe on the day of judgment. Now everyone was listening, and they asked, so what is your religion? Who do you follow? Who taught you this religion? So he says, وَاتَّبَعْتُ مِلَّةَ آبَاءِ إِبْرَاهِيمَ وَإِسْحَاقَ وَيَعْقُوبَ. He says, I follow the millah, the religion of my forefathers, Aba, who? Ibrahim alayhi salam, Ishaq alayhi salam, and his father Yaqub alayhi salam. And when they heard of Ibrahim alayhi salam, one prophet, they were startled. Because at that time there was none who believed in Islam as such. And then he says, مَا كَانَ لَنَا, it is not right for us, the Prophet alayhi salam and the Muslims, أَن نُشْرِكَ بِاللَّهِ مِنْ شَيْءٍ, that we associate parties with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. ذَلِكَ مِنْ فَضْلِ اللَّهِ عَلَيْنَا, that is the grace, the bounty, the favor of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala upon us, وَعَلَى النَّاسِ, upon the Muslims. وَلَكِنْ أَكْثَرَ النَّاسِ لَا يَشْكُرُونَ, however, majority of people, they are not thankful. They are not grateful. Now what happened? Eventually, as mentioned yesterday, the inmates, the prisoners, they accepted Islam at the hands of Yusuf alayhi salam. Now Yusuf alayhi salam, he asked them, what do you want? Do you want to stay here or do you want to be free? Because many of them, they were innocent. And Yusuf alayhi salam knew that the king's palace is 8 miles away. No one has come to check them, the innocents, whether really criminals or they're innocent. So they were there for many years. So Yusuf alayhi salam said, what do you want? You've got an option. You can be freed from this prison or you can stay here. Approximately 1,000 inmates, they said, oh our guide, oh our master. Yusuf alayhi salam was a slave, was sent as a slave, now become a master in the prison. They said to him that we want to leave this prison. We want to go back to our families, to our children, to our brothers and sisters and parents. So Yusuf said, yes, you may leave. They said, O Prophet of Allah, you can see we've been chained, the doors are locked. How are we supposed to exit? And there were no guards there. So how are we supposed to exit the prison when the keys are with the guards? So Yusuf alayhi salam, with his eyesight, he looked at the chains and they opened up. He looked at the prison door and opened up. He said, you can go now. 1,000 left. Now before they left, he said, pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that the guards and the police in the city do not find out that we've been released. So Yusuf alayhi salam, this is one narration. Yusuf alayhi salam prayed to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala changed their appearance. Another narration, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala changed their color. So they can be disguised and they can leave peacefully. And they left. But approximately 500 to 1,000 stayed. Okay, no, we don't want to leave. How can a person leave this beautiful person? Inwardly and outwardly. Huh? So he said, we want to learn from you. So Yusuf said, yes, you can stay with me. And then he says, and everyone in the prison cell, and especially talking to the two inmates, Ya sahib al-sijn, all my companions in the prison. Now you see all these people out there worshipping many idols. Some worshipping the sun, some worshipping the moon, some worshipping the stars, some worshipping the trees, the plants. You know, Sayyidina Umar radiallahu ta'ala anhu, he used to smile at this point. And he would say that we are blessed with the presence of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam because we were so ignorant that we would make idols made out of khajur, dates. And there was a time that there was no food and we would eat the idols. And they worship the idols and eat them up. Okay, but this is the beauty of Islam. So he says, أَرْبَابٌ مُتَفَرِّقٌ خَيْرٌ أَمِ اللَّهُ الْوَاحِدُ الْقَهَّارُ. Is all these false gods better, or is one, the most dominant, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, better? They said, yes, one, subhanahu wa ta'ala. Then Yusuf said, مَا تَعْبُدُونَ مِن دُونِهِ إِلَّا أَسْمَاءً. Do you know these idols, these names, you've been coined by yourselves. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, His name is such, no one gave the name Allah. Allah Himself called Himself Allah. But these idols, we call this Guru Nanak, or whatever the names are. What are these Hindu idols called? All these names, man-made names. Huh? مَا تَعْبُدُونَ مِن دُونِ إِلَّا أَسْمَاءً سَمَّيْتُمُوهَا. Name by yourselves. Antum by yourselves, وَآبَاؤُكُمْ and by your fathers. Forget these idols, the name's been invented. Yourselves, you carved the idols, you made the idols, and then you thought of a name. What shall we call this? We'll call it whatever the name is. Man-made names. Huh? مَا أَنزَلَ اللَّهُ بِهَا مِن سُلْطَانٍ. Allah hasn't said any ruling about this. Sultan. إِنِ الْحُكْمُ إِلَّا لِلَّهِ. Dominance is with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. أَلَّا تَعْبُدُوا إِلَّا. That you do not worship anyone except Allah. ذَلِكَ الدِّينُ الْقَيِّمُ. O prisoners, my religion is a strong and steadfast religion. Not man-made. Even the word Islam is not man-made. Christianity is after the word Christ. Judaism is after the word Judah. Buddhism is after the word Buddha. But Islam is not after the name of Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Islam is not a new religion, it's a continuation of the message passed down by other prophets alaihi wasallam. See, that's why we are Muslims. Christians, they follow Christ. Therefore they're Christians. Jews, they follow Judah, Yehuda, and therefore they're Jews. But we are not Muhammadans. We are Muslims. Okay, our name has been given by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And now he comes after this introduction. Why was it important for him to give that introduction? First, because he found a golden opportunity to propagate deen. And he knew from one of the two prisoners, who were the two? You know the names? Yuna and Mulakhab. Yuna, the one who was, he's this middle. He said, I saw that I was carrying bread, 3 pieces of bread. And Mulakhab said, the cupbearer, who used to serve the king wine and alcohol. He said, I saw I'm extracting juice or wine from grapes. So he comes to the interpretation. He said one of the two will be freed and one of the two will be executed. So before death, he wanted them to become Muslims. And then he says, Ya sahibay sijn, all my companions. You stayed with me for so many years, 5 years. After 3 days, you're going to leave me. Both of you. Amma ahaduhuma, one of you two, فَيَسْقِي رَبَّهُ خَمْرًا. O Mulakhab, you're going to go back to the palace. And you're going to serve the king alcohol, wine. You're going to get your job back. You're going to get dignity and respect back. وَأَمَّا الْآخَرُ. As to the other one, Yuna. And Yuna, he saw a dream that he was carrying 3 pieces of bread on his head. And birds came and began to eat from the bread. وَأَمَّا الْآخَرُ. As regards to the other one, فَيُصْلَبْ. He will be executed. And what will happen? His body will remain there. His body will begin to decay. And birds will come. فَتَأْكُلُ الطَّيْرُ مِنْ رَأْسِهِ. And they will eat the brain, the brain of Yuna. So you'll be left hanging there. And after a while, birds will come and start eating you. This is the interpretation. Now, when you heard this, Mulakhab was happy. I'm happy with this interpretation. I'll be free anyway. Made up dreams. As I mentioned before, don't make up dreams. And be careful who you mention the dreams to. Now Yuna became hesitant, or afraid, a bit scared, and said, no, Yusuf alayhi salam, this was a made up dream. So when Yusuf alayhi salam, he heard they were making this up, he says, قُضِيَ الْأَمْرُ, what's been decreed has happened now. الَّذِي تَسْتَفْتِيَانِ, what you asked for is going to happen now. There cannot be no change. You made up the dreams, I gave you the meanings of the dreams, it's going to happen now. So this is exactly what happened. After 3 days, now why 3 days? It's because Mulakhab, the cupbearer, he saw a dream that he was holding 3 branches of grapes and squeezing the branches, and instead of juice, wine came out. And as regards to Yuna, he saw that he was carrying 3 pieces of bread. So 3. So he said, both of you after 3 days, you'll be free. You'll be innocent. As you'll be accused of plotting against the king, and you'll be executed. And this is exactly what happened. But then Yusuf alayhi salam, he said to Mulakhab, you're going to go back to the king. وقال الذي ظن أنه ناج منهما, Hazrat Yusuf alayhi salam said, Mulakhab, you're going to be executed, you're going to be freed, you're going to go back to the king. He said, اذكرني عند ربك, remind the king about me. I think the king has forgotten. Even Aziz had forgotten. But Zulaykha didn't forget. But she was too ashamed to mention anything to Aziz. So now this was an opportunity, because he knew this messenger, i.e. this prisoner, is going to go back to the king. So Yusuf alayhi salam said, oh, when you go back to the king, mention to him about me. Remind him that you forgot about Yusuf alayhi salam, the slave. He's innocent. He's in the prison for 5 years or more. Now what happened? Jibreel alayhi salam, he went. The prisoner went to the palace. Jibreel alayhi salam came at that time to Yusuf alayhi salam. And so Yusuf alayhi salam, who was the one who saved you and protected you from the brothers? I said, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Who is the one who took you out from the well? From Allah. It's Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Who was the one who saved you from these business people and gave you a home, a palace? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So Jibreel alayhi salam said, Allah is asking, then why are you seeking help from the king? You should ask, Ya Allah, free me from the prison. Why did you send a message to the prisoner to go to, so he will go to the king and inform the king about you? You should have gone to the Malik, ultimate king, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And because of this, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has told you, you're going to remain here for the next 7 years. So 7 plus 5, how many years? 12 years. How many years? 12 years. Now the ulama, they have said something very beautiful. Why 12 years? Is because the words of Yusuf alayhi salam is this. اذكرني عند ربك. اذكرني عند ربك. اذكرني. 6 letters. عند ربك, another 6 letters. Altogether how many letters? 12 letters. Because he mentioned 12 letters, so that's why you have to spend 12 years in the prison. اذكرني عند ربك. 12 letters, subhanallah. And now because he had to stay for 7 years, what happened? The prisoner went and completely forgot about Yusuf alayhi salam. Use and abuse, Bulgrave. But no, he was made to forget. فَأَنْسَاهُ الشَّيْطَانُ ذِكْرَ رَبِّهِ. The shaitan made him forget about Yusuf alayhi salam. If Yusuf alayhi salam was to come out now, he's going to propagate deen. Let him stay inside. So he made the prisoner forget about Yusuf alayhi salam. فَلَبِثَ فِي السِّجْنِ بِضْعَ سِنِينَ. So Yusuf alayhi salam remained in the prison for some years. And we heard how many years altogether now? So far he spent already another 7 years. Altogether 12 years. Now after 7 years, Yusuf alayhi salam, he prayed 2 rak'at nafal, and he prayed to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tahajjud. Now if you want your dua to be accepted, the time of tahajjud is a very important time. And also if you see dreams at time of tahajjud, very most likely it has a meaning. So if you're going to see yourself eating a burger at time of tahajjud, most likely iftar you're going to eat burger. Okay. So what happened? Now the king, now he's shifting. Now you see from Malik went to Aziz, from Aziz went to Zulaykha, from Zulaykha, Yusuf alayhi salam, Yusuf is everywhere. Now we're shifting the story from there to the king now. We're coming to the king. The king comes into the picture. King, his name was Rayyan, I mentioned yesterday. And Aziz was a minister underneath the king. It's like the Prime Minister and the Queen of Elizabeth. Okay, all the affairs is with the Prime Minister. He's in control. وَقَالَ الْمَلِكُ So Malik, early morning, he came down from his bedroom. Now he had many slaves, and within his slaves had many magicians, many fortune tellers who look at the stars and predict the future. So the king came down, very perplexed, in anxiety, very shocked and grieved by this dream he saw. And this was exactly when Yusuf a.s. made dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that night. So Yusuf on one hand was making dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, on the other hand, the king saw this dream. What was the dream? وَقَالَ الْمَلِكُ إِنِّي أَرَى سَبْعَ بَقَرَاتٍ سِمَانٍ The king went to his sorcerers, fortune tellers, magicians, and said, all this time you used to interpret my dreams, now here. I'm very moved by this dream. إِنِّي أَرَى سَبْعَ بَقَرَاتٍ سِمَانٍ I saw 7 fat cows emerging from River Nile. And it was dried River Nile, so from the river bed. Fat siman, fat cows emerging from the river bed. And there were 7 thin cows. يأكلهن 7 عجاف. عجفات, we call it عجاف. And there were 7 thin cows that came and attacked the 7 fat cows and ate the 7 fat cows. Even though they were weak, they were stronger. The weak ones, the thin ones, came and attacked the fat and strong ones and ate them. And after that, what did I see? وَسَبْعَ سُنْبُلَاتٍ خُضْرٍ I saw 7 stems of wheat, fresh ones. وَأُخْرَ يَابِسًا Another 7 stems, corn of ears, as I say, of wheat. 7 fresh ones and 7 dried ones. And when the 7 fresh ones were placed with the 7 dried ones, even the fresh ones became dried. Ya ayyuhal mala, O my people, O my companions, O fortune tellers, O sorcerers, O magicians, Aftuli fi ru'yaya, give me a verdict, ifta, fatwa. Give me an answer to my dream. In kuntum lirru'ya ta'burun, if you are truly can interpret dreams. Now this was the first time ever they put their hands up. And they said, قالوا, O king, أضغاث أحلام, أضغاث. These dreams are confusing dreams. We don't understand. In the past, they would make up dreams just to please the king. Yes? But this time, they couldn't make up a meaning. Now, this was very important. The king saw a dream, not anyone else. The king was very perplexed, confused by this. And he wanted immediate interpretation, ta'wil of this ru'ya, of this dream. And none of the fortune tellers could make up a dream, or interpretation, of this dream. Because Yusuf a.s. is going to come to give the interpretation of the dream. Now one thing to remember, there are 3 types of dreams. One is divine, Rabbani, Mubashirat, that tidings. The second is Shaytani, and the third is Adghaf, confused. Do you know when you dhikr of Allah subhanahu before you go to sleep, that's why you should read the 4 quls, AL-QADIRI, and you blow on your body, is to protect you from Shaytani dreams. When you do a lot of dhikr, when you pay namaz on time, and when you are always in state of purity, you tend to see good dreams. And inshallah, if you're fortunate enough, you see the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and awliya, those like our Imam Azim al-Hanifa radiallahu, saw Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala with the eyes of the heart. Not physically, but 99 times. Yes? Shaitani are dreams that scare you. And that is why the Prophet ﷺ says, if you wake up in the night and you're scared by the dream, read A'udhu Billah 3 times. A'udhu Billahi min ash-shaytan rajim, A'udhu Billahi min ash-shaytan rajim, A'udhu Billahi min ash-shaytan rajim. And semi-spit on your left shoulder. Okay? Make sure your wife's not there. A'udhu Billahi min ash-shaytan rajim. She's going to slap you, that will be a proper nightmare. Okay? So, you read A'udhu Billah and you semi-spit on your left. Because now one thing to remember, I'll just remember this point. The great Muhaddith has mentioned, do you know the shaitan, he's always on the back shoulder of your left. And he's got a trumpet, a horn, a long one, which is connected to your heart. It's towards the left. And if you want to instead, what's also it blows. Okay, and that is why you come to that, you say Allah, we blow it back out. When you do dhikr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you want to remove that waswasa from the heart. That's why the breathing is integral part of our deen. Do you know there are many scientists doing research on this, how breathing can help a person to meditate and relax. You know, those who do meditation, there's a concept of conscious breathing, it's called. So you're conscious of your breathing. You relax. When you're aware of your breathing, you feel your lungs, you feel relaxed. This is from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Because do you know when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants to instill the ruh of insan in the fetus, okay, in the body of a child, the angel comes, they blow the ruh into the body of the child after 120 days. The angels come, they blow, and that's why when Jibreel alayhi salam came to Sayyidina Maryam radiallahu ta'ala anha, he blew into her the ruh of Sayyidina Isa alayhi salam. So breathing is very important in our deen, and that is why Allah has already, many ulama, those who do a lot of dhikr, they know the dhikr is called Pass and Fast. Pass and Fast means you're conscious of your breathing. When you're breathing, you are aware that you're saying Allah. When you breathe out, you say Hu. You should make a habit. Even to the ulama say, even if you're in a toilet, be aware of the dhikr. You're not doing verbal dhikr. You're not allowed to do dhikr verbal in the toilet. But you're allowed to carry on this conscious breathing. Even in Tarawih, you don't understand, you're not allowed to say anything behind Imam, but be conscious. Do you know this one Allah? This one saying Allahu with your breathing is 70 times greater than saying Allahu verbally. And the ulama, they have stated this dhikr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the angels are unaware of this dhikr. On Yawm al-Qiyamah, Allah Himself will give you the reward of the dhikr. 70 times more effective. So once you listen to this tafsir, you can be sat there doing the dhikr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Make a habit. And inshallah, if you make a habit, sometimes you forget. But if you make a habit of being conscious of this dhikr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, even if you're sleeping, you will be doing dhikr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Every second of your life will be spent in dhikr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But it needs a bit of training. You need to spend some time, make it be conscious. It might be 5 minutes, then 10 minutes, be conscious. Whilst you're walking to work, you listen to something, and relaxes you. You know, you don't like the food and you're complaining, or the wife is complaining, whatever. Say something. I'm saying something. Can't you hear? Okay? So it relaxes you a lot. It's called conscious dhikr. Wow, I don't know why I came here. Yes, we're talking about dreams. One is Rabbani, one is Shaitani, one is Adghaf. Adghaf means confusing. Confusing dreams happen usually when you fill your stomach with suhoor and you go to sleep. Yes, confusing dreams are when you eat a lot. So when you eat that burger and chips, you're going to see the confusing dreams. Adghaf. That's just better. Now it's better before you sleep. Don't sleep with an empty stomach. Don't sleep with a full stomach. Okay, scientifically, medically it's not good. And also spiritually. Ya ayyuhal mala'u, all my people, mala, in a gathering, aftuni ru'yaya, give the interpretation of my dreams. In kuntum liru'ya ta'burun, if you are the ones who can interpret dreams. What is going to be interpretation of the dream and what happens next, inshallah, tomorrow. Inshallah. So pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I'm going to try and finish, inshallah, this Surah Yusuf before Saturday, because next Sunday I'll be departing to go Canada. If I don't finish, inshallah, I've told Maulana Kareem he'll carry on. But I'm trying to finish inshallah this surah before Friday inshallah. اللهم صل على سيدنا مولانا محمد معدن الجود والكرم وآله وصحبه وبارك وسلم. يا ربنا يا ربنا يا ربنا يا ربنا يا ربنا يا حي قيوم يا حي قيوم يا حي قيوم. ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار. اللهم اغفر وارحم وأنت خير الراحمين. اللهم اغفر لأمة سيدنا محمد صلى الله تعالى عليه وسلم. اللهم ارحم أمة سيدنا محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم. اللهم تجاوز أمة سيدنا محمد صلى الله تعالى عليه وسلم. اللهم أصلح أحوال أمة سيدنا محمد صلى الله تعالى عليه وسلم. اللهم فرج أمة سيدنا محمد صلى الله تعالى عليه وسلم. اللهم اجعلنا من أمة سيدنا محمد صلى الله تعالى عليه وسلم. اللهم اجعلنا من التوابين واجعلنا من المتطهرين واجعلنا من عبادك الصالحين. رب ارحمهما كما ربياني صغيرا. رب ارحمهما كما ربياني صغيرا. رب ارحمهما كما ربياني صغيرا. إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما. اللهم صل على سيدنا مولانا محمد معدن الوجود والقلب وآله وصحبه وبارك وسلم. بفضل سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون وسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله.